Math morning. Mr. Durkis, back at it again. I've got a little bit of a sore throat, so bear with me. Today, we're going to solve for y. And that's my man Patrick. He's ready to solve for y. Are you? All right, let's get started. So a large portion of Algebra 1 involves graphing. And when you learn to graph equations, linear equations, is the easiest if you have y isolated. You might see some equations that look like this. We call this standard form with the y over here and the x right there. But we want to change these so that they look like this. These are equivalent, they're the same thing, just in a different order. And if you have something like this, it's going to be much easier to graph than an equation like this. So the next chapter is going to be all about graphing linear equations, and this is a skill that you really need to have to be successful in that chapter. And not only to be successful in that chapter, but other, higher levels of algebra 2, the teachers often say, I really wish the students knew how to isolate y or solve for y because it makes doing algebra so much easier. So this is a really important skill. If you practice this and get good at it, it's going to help you a lot. You can do it. The more you practice, the harder you work, the easier it's going to be for you. So this is an important one, and it's going to be really important in the next chapter too. So work hard in this lesson. So here are some examples with the equation that we want to solve for y. Before we start, I just want to write something over here. It says y equals mx plus b. This is called slope-intercept form, and that's how our equations should look when we're done. We should have a y first, and then m, that's a number, that's called the slope, then the x right here, and then b is another number. So the y should be right here, and the x should be right there, and then that should be another number. Alright, so let's try this one over here. 2y equals 4x minus 10. So to get y by itself, this says 2y right here. That means 2 multiplied by y. So we do the inverse of that, and we divide by 2. Over here, I'll divide by 2, and I'll divide this by 2 as well. So if I divide by 2 on this side, I need to divide everything on this side by 2. So how's that work? These cancel, and I'm left with just y. Over here, 4 divided by 2, that's 2, and I bring down the x. I have a minus sign, I put that there. And then 10 divided by 2 is 5. So bam, boom, pow, bam. This is an answer right there. We have the y first, and then a number, and then x, and then another number. So y equals mx plus b. That's this form shown with these numbers. Okay, so we solve for y. Not too bad, right? All right, the second one gets a little bit crazier. So I have 5y over here plus 40 equals 20x. So I want to get y by itself. So to do that, the first thing I should do is get rid of this plus 40. That way y will be by itself on the left side of the equation. So if I have a plus 40 over here, I need to do a minus 40. And then 20x over here, I have to do minus 40. This is where a lot of mistakes happen. So if I draw this line, like I've done in the past, and draw my equal sign, this side, I'm left with 5y, and the plus 40 minus 40 cancels. On this side, I have 20x minus 40. So many students, they want to just say 20 minus 40. Well, that's negative 20, and I'll write negative 20. But these are not like terms. This one has an x, this one does not have an x. So you cannot combine them. You just have to write them both separately. So I just write 20x, and then I write minus 40. That's it. That's all I have to do. Because they are not like terms. Remember that. They're not like terms. If one has an x and one doesn't, you cannot combine them. Alright, so now I have this one, and it looks like how I started my first one. I have a number next to a y. This time it's 5y. So I'll divide this side by 5, and I'll divide over here by 5, and I'll divide the 4 by 5. Alright, I'll draw another line. Let's see what we get for an answer. These 5's cancel. I'm left with y over here. 20 divided by 5, that is 4. And I bring down the x. Oh, this should have been 40. And 40 divided by 5 is 8. And it was a negative 40. So negative 40 divided by 5 is a negative 8. Alright, bam. Boom, pow. Second one, done. So this next one could be the most trickiest out of them all. But I still approach it the same way. So I have 4x minus 6y equals 12. I want to get the y by itself. So I need to take this 4x and bring it to this side. So this is a positive 4x. Even though there's not a plus sign, it is positive. So I just put a negative 4x right there. And I need to do a negative 4x on this side. Let me draw my line, make sure I'm doing everything all right. My equal sign. So 4x minus 4x, that cancels. I'm left with negative 6y. Then over here, I have 12 minus 4x. Some people might want to say, hey, 12 minus 4, that's 8. But this does not have an x, and this one does. So you cannot combine those like terms. Also, if you look up here, the x comes before the b, right? There's a number. So when I write this, I'm going to put negative 4x first, and then I just write the 12. And what should I put in between the minus 4x and the 12? Well, is this 12 positive or negative? I don't see a negative sign, so it must be positive, so I write the plus sign. So let me explain that one more time. I had 4x over here, so I subtracted 4x. These are not like terms. I cannot combine them. So I just wrote them down. The reason I wrote minus 4x first is because this form, y equals mx plus b, the x comes before the number over here. This term with no variables. So that's why I wrote the negative 4x first. Alright, perfect. So now this looks like our previous two examples. I have negative 6y. That means negative 6 multiplied by y. So I need to divide by negative 6. And I divide over here by negative 6. And over here by negative 6. These two cancel. I'm left with just y. Okay, I want y by itself. That's good. Over here, negative 4 divided by negative 6. That is 2/3. Did I just blow your mind? Well, let me explain. So, negative 4 and negative 6. A negative divided by a negative is positive. So this has to be positive. These can both be divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's how I get 2/3. I bring down the x too. So this is 2/3 x. Then over here, 12 divided by negative 6. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. 12 divided by 6 is 2. Alright, so this is my third answer right there. So what I want you to do is try these three by yourself. This first one will be similar to this first problem up here. The second one will be similar to this second one. And the third one will be similar to this third one. So go ahead, pause the video, try these three. Stop the video and try the problems. So this first one was just like the first one. We had to divide each part by 5. So 5y divided by 5 equals y. 10x divided by 5 equals 2x. 25 divided by 5 equals 5. This second one, so we wanted to isolate y, so I did plus 20 on both sides. Some of you might have said 15 plus 20 equals 35. Well, these are not like terms. If you have an x and a number that does not have x, you cannot combine them. So I just wrote them next to each other. So I have 15x plus 20 right here. Then I divided this side by 5, so I got y by itself. and I divided 15x by 5 and 20 divided by 5. And my answer, y equals 3x plus 4. All right, this last one got crazy with some decimals, some negative signs. So I did 5x, I did minus 5x on both sides. That way the negative 2.5y was by itself. On this side, it became negative 5x plus 25. Why did I do it that way? Well, these are not like terms, so I can't do 25 minus 5 equals 20. I need to keep them separate. And I wrote the x first because that's how this form, slope-intercept form, works. You put the x before the number. Alright, so I did that, and then I had negative 2.5y, so I divided it by negative 2.5, and that gave me y. And then over here, I did negative 5 divided by negative 2.5, and I got 2. And 25 divided by negative 2.5, I got negative 10. So here are some more examples. I want you to, again, pause this video and try these by yourself. These might be a little crazy too. So go ahead, pause it, try it by yourself. You thought I wasn't going to put a cat in. Oh, well, I did. Pause the video, try those problems. So I'm going to go ahead and work through these problems just because they're all a little bit weird. So this first one, if I want to get y by itself, let me draw my line. Oh, that's a bad line. And that's a better line. I want to get rid of this x. It's a positive x because I don't see a negative sign, so it must be positive. So I can do minus x on this side, and then I'll do minus x over here. These cancel. All right. And I'll bring down my negative y. Over here, I have 10 and a minus x. These are not like terms, so I need to write them down. Remember, the x comes first, and then there's a positive 10. Someone just texted me. I don't know if you heard that. So I have negative x plus 10 on this side, and negative y on this side over here. What do I do now? You might think, oh, this looks okay. Y is by itself, but it has a negative y. How do you get rid of a negative y and make it positive? We divide by negative 1. That's a negative 1. Let me make that a little better. Negative 1. Then I divide over here everything by negative 1. Divide by negative 1. And now, I'll draw my line. Negative y divided by negative 1 is a positive y. Negative x divided by negative 1, that's x. And 10 divided by negative 1 will be minus 10. So there you go. Bam. All done. We solved for y. This one over here, you might have done plus 21 and then minus 2x and then divide by negative 3. But you could do that an easier way. This whole video I haven't moved the y anywhere, but you're allowed to. You can do whatever you want. So if I do a plus 3y on this side, I can do a plus 3y on this side. What happens, those cancel, so I'm left with 2x minus 21, and over here I have 0 plus 3y is just 3y, and then I can divide by 3, and I divide that by 3, and that by 3, that cancels, and I have over here y on this side, 2x divided by 3, 2/3 x. Negative 21 divided by 3, that's negative 7. And there you go. You solved for y. I think if you tried the other way, this was fewer steps. If you want to put y on the other side and have y equals 2/3 x minus 7, it's the same thing. You can do either one. Either one will make me happy. But there you go. And the reason I showed you this one is sometimes it's easier if you move a y to the other side. Right, you can do it the other way if you got the same answer, that's cool, but I just want you to be aware that you can move y's around. This one over here, let's see. I'll draw my old line. Let me change my color of the pen, mix it up a little bit. How about, how about green? So I can do a minus 6x and a minus 6x because I want to get the y by itself. So let's see. That cancels because it's 0. Those cancel, so I'm left with 0 equals 7y. Then to get y by itself, I need to divide by 7. 0 divided by 7. And I'm left with y equals 0. So I isolated y, I solved for y. You might be thinking, well, where's the x? Where's the other number? That's crazy. You could also write this, y equals 0x plus 0. This is the same thing as this, just this is simplified. So if you cancel out the x's, that's perfectly fine, as long as you have a 0 over here. Alright, so I wanted to show you that one too. This is too much, right? Simplify to that. So these are 3 unique problems. The rest of the packet, right, they're all solving for y. You guys can do this. Keep working hard. Dirkus out.